Welcome back to the channel, boys. Fablinski's coming at your neck with this Well of Potency build. And with this build, we're going to utilize the new seasonal artifact mod, Well of Potency. Now what this does is every time you pick up an elemental well, you get a little bit of super energy just for doing that. So we're going to try and focus on making as many elemental wells as possible with this build. We have elemental ordnance, elemental armaments, and so many other things to create elemental wells, on top of some other super regen things such as Stormdancer's Brace, which got a nice little buff with the most recent patch, and we're using Bottom Tree Stormcaller, which got a nice little buff in the most recent patch as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So like I just stated, we're going to utilize Bottom Tree Stormcaller for this build because of the most recent buff it got in the latest patch. It reads here: Arc Soul increased duration from 12 to 13 seconds, and it increased the fire rate by 10%. Electrostatic Surge now increases sprint speed when near allies, as well as increasing your rift regeneration rate. And now Landfall fires 5 arc round projectiles when you cast it. So when you cast your super, creates the landfall, which is like a bolt of lightning that goes along the ground. It's like a shockwave, and then it shoots out 5 arc projectiles in every direction that travel out and do damage to enemies. So it just made the landfall even more devastating than it already was. There's already really good ability, now it's just even better. Now moving on to my loadout, as you guys can already tell, I'm using Traveler's Chosen again. I am absolutely loving using this thing. The full auto trigger system and osmosis is just so good. I've said it plenty of times before, but I love this thing. You guys have to try it if you haven't already. Now since I'm using this, I need some boss killers, so I'm using Traveler's Chosen. I'm sorry, Empty Vessel. I got stuck in my mind, right? And I'm using Empty Vessel with all loading holster and Vorpal weapon, and Cold Vela. You guys have seen these weapons before. Now moving on to my stat, the only important mod really is my recovery mod. Right now it's at 96. I was trying to get this to 100, but some sacrifices were made, so now it's at 96. I was trying to get it to 100 so that my health can come back faster, but I wasn't able to do so. We also have 100 discipline, but again, I am using Traveler's Chosen, so I'm not really too worried about that. I'm going to be trying to get a lot of grenade kills, which is how I'm going to spawn these elemental wells. So I have 100 discipline and I have Traveler's Chosen. I'm going to have a lot of grenade spam on top of all the elemental wells I'm going to be picking up, which will allow you to get some ability energy each time you pick up an elemental well. Now moving on to my helmet, we're going to double stack ashes to assets again. I feel like I've been doing this a lot recently, but it's really potent, and especially with Well of Potency and elemental armaments, I feel like this is a really good decision. So I gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. Double stacking it, I get a nice amount of grenade energy, super energy on grenade kills. And then we're also using elemental armaments, so weapon takedowns with a damage type that match your subclass element have a chance to spawn an elemental well. Traveler's Chosen has osmosis, throw a grenade. It's an arc weapon now. Elemental armaments will now proc after a certain amount of kills. On my gauntlets, we're double stacking grenade kickstart mods once again, so whenever I do use my grenade, it's going to be fully expended, and just for doing that, I get a nice little bit of grenade energy in return on top of Traveler's Chosen. And as well as bomber mods, I'm using those, so I cast my rift, get a nice little bit of grenade energy. Just for using my grenade, I get grenade energy. Traveler's Chosen, getting kills, consuming that will give me ability energy, so I have grenade spam with this build, which is really important. And then we're also using Elemental Light. Defeating combatant with your super spawns an elemental wall that matches your subclass energy type. This is how I'm going to be able to keep regenerating my super as much as possible. Stormdancer's Brace, and then we have Elemental Light, so I pick up these elemental wells. I have Well of Potency on, so I pick them up, get a little bit of super energy. Just a nice little cycle of gameplay right here. Now moving on to my chest piece, which is also my exotic piece of choice, we're going to utilize Stormdancer's Brace. Now before the most recent patch, this thing was a joke. It was just so looked over, but now on top of increasing the damage based on the amount of kills you get with the super, it also refunds super energy when the super ends. So if you get literally 4 or 5 kills, you have 50% of your super once the super ends, and on top of that, as you're getting kills with your super, it increases the damage of the super. So you're going to be doing a lot of damage, clearing a lot of ads, and boom, once it's done, you have 50% of your super. Now the main important mod that we have on this chest piece is a new seasonal artifact mod, Well of Potency. Picking up a matching elemental well grants you super energy. I'm going to be spawning a lot of arc elemental wells. I'm on an arc subclass, so picking those up gives you a little bit of super energy, and honestly it doesn't look like a lot, but if you're able to create your build in such a way that you can spawn a lot of them, it starts to add up. And on top of the fact that Stormdancer's Brace actually gives me 50% of my super back just for getting kills with it, you can see the synergy here. Creating elemental wells by getting kills with my super, getting kills with my grenades, picking those up, I have 50% of my super already once my super ends, and then I'm picking up those elemental wells, getting super energy, and then the cycle just keeps going. I actually really like this mod. At first I was kind of iffy about it, but once I created a build around it, yeah, now it's really good. I recommend trying it out if you like super spam builds. On my boots, we're double stacking innervation mod, so I get grenade cooldown each time I pick up an orb of power. And then we're also using fonts of might. Picking up an elemental wall that matches your subclass energy type gives you a 25% damage buff for 10 seconds. It's a really good mod, got buffed recently. We're going to be using Traveler's Chosen, has Osmosis, is going to turn into an arc weapon. Fonts of Might will give it a damage buff. And on my Warlock Bond, we're double stacking bomber mods once again, so I get grenade energy when I cast my Rift. And then we're also using Elemental Ordnance. Defeating combat with a grenade spawns an elemental wall that matches your subclass energy type. I'm going to be getting a lot of grenade kills. This is how I'm going to spawn most of my elemental wells. Once I do so, pick up those elemental wells and my build just starts going from there. Stormdancer's Brace goes crazy, gives me 50% of my super back. Well of Potency starts activating once I start picking up those elemental wells, and I keep that cycle going. This is like the most super spam I ever created in any build. And onto my Warlock fashion, I do have the ornament for Stormdancer's Brace, which adds like this little like lightning effects, which looks really cool, but it is kind of hard to style. The little like boxes right here don't change the color, so I kind of match that with everything else. I have red on the helmet, red on my gloves, red on the boots and everything. Kind of went with a black and red look. A little bit of blue here to complement the blue lightning or electricity that's coming around all the armor. So in case you guys want to see my ornaments and my shaders, here is everything. Here are all my shaders and here are all my ornaments. So if you want to recreate that, go ahead and take a screenshot and do whatever you want to do. So like I said earlier in the video, when I first had Well of Potency and I was testing it out, I was kind of like, okay, like I wasn't really sure if it was worth it. But once I started putting a build together around it and I started actually playing like around Well of Potency, picking up the wells, generating as many wells as I possibly could, I started to see its potential. And now I'm starting to really like it because you just get super energy just for picking up a elemental well. I think it's a little more than picking up an orb of power that you generate from like a master weapon or something like that. So think about all this. You're generating orbs of power using master weapons, orbs of power from your teammates when they get super kills or their master weapons, and now you're also getting super energy from picking up these elemental wells. So there's a lot of super regen, and with this build specifically, I have Ashes to Assets on with grenade spam, so I'm getting a lot of grenade kills, getting super energy that way, elemental wells, orbs of power. There's just so much super regen, and on top of that, Stormdancer's Brace, which I am loving this exotic so much. Giving it super regen when you get kills after the super ends is just a phenomenal change, because now you can actually do pretty decent damage with the super as long as you're getting a lot of kills. Like if you use landfall and you get a bunch of kills right off the start, you can pretty much go right up to like times 10 or times 8, like around there, just from using landfall. And then for the whole duration of your super, you're doing a lot of damage. You can clear out regular ads, you can clear out, you know, majors, yellow bars. Stormdancer's Brace just makes this super that much better. I'm starting to really like bottom tree arc. I've always liked arc warlock. I like top tree a lot because I like the idea of chaining arc between enemies, like using your abilities and stuff. But bottom tree, now you have the arc soul. You run faster when near allies, you get your rift back faster when near allies. Landfall got a buff, so it's really good now. Stormdancer's Brace just allows it so you can spam your super. I don't know, I'm liking bottom tree arc a lot. But there you boys have it, a nice little build using bottom tree arc and Well of Potency. It's a really fun build. You guys gotta try it. If you don't have Stormdancer's Brace, you can get it from completing the Shadowkeep campaign on Warlock. So I highly recommend doing that and getting this exotic and using this build. But if you guys like this content, please like, subscribe, and share. It truly helps me out a lot. You can also check out my other videos. Links are in the description below. I have a lot of crazy builds, so go and check that out. And you might as well follow my social media. I have a Twitter and an Instagram, both at fat_bloonskis. But with all that being said, deuces.